Hi, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Women in Retail Talks. In today's episode, Jennifer D. Pasquale, the Women in Retail Leadership Circle's co-founder, sits down with Jessica Herrin, founder and CEO of Stella & Dot, a jewelry company and lifestyle brand. Listen in as they discuss entrepreneurship and Stella & Dot in this fireside chat, all live from this year's Women in Retail Leadership Summit held in Miami. And now, on to the show.
Okay, so tell me, Jessica, we were just chatting in the makeup room. Tell me just a little bit about your background. Not that I haven't read or watched every video and fangirled about you, but just tell the ladies a little bit about your background and talk me through your career path.
Okay, well, first of all, I just want to say hi, and I'm so grateful to be here with all of you amazing leaders, and I wish I could hear more about all of your background. And I also am very grateful that you're here in the afternoon when you're probably thinking that you'd rather be on the beach. So hang in there for this talk. My background, this hotel was sort of a flashback for me, because when I started thinking about transitioning to starting a direct sales business, I came to a conference here. But before that, when I graduated from school, I started in technology. And I often feel like I won the lottery of time, because I could have been a woman born in any continent at any time period. And I was born at the advent of the internet and went to school in the heart of Silicon Valley and entered the workforce just when women were graduating in equal numbers to men. Mm-hmm. So in a way, when you think about people being around a couple 100,000 years, I think I started my career at when you could kind of walk down the street and think about becoming an entrepreneur more so than any other moment in time. So I started doing something insanely non-sexy in enterprise software, but it was the kernel for what would become my first business, which became weddingchannel.com, which was really a retail software solution and aggregated gift registry, and then also created a content element for brides and their guests, and that was ultimately now part of the Knot. Mm-hmm. But when I did that business, I realized you could be successful on paper and not in real life. I had a job where I got on Oprah. I was a 24-year-old entrepreneur. I had a successful e-commerce business, but I worked all the time. I had leases, employees, and investors, and I just had to sit there and ask myself, I basically have every meal at my desk. All I do is work 7 days a week, and I do not feel soulfully connected to what I do. Mm-hmm. And I think if you stop and ask yourself that kind of question, it's hard to ask because you might come up with the answer of no. Do I feel soulfully connected? Am I doing my purpose on this earth? And when I found my answer was really no, I went on this journey of searching for what would that mean if I led with heart first and followed with my head. Because I'd always gone on the analytical path of here's a white space, here's a market, here's how you disrupt it, here's the addressable size and the solution. And so that's what the path to starting the Stella & Dot family of brands with the singular purpose of how would you reinvent flexible income for women. Because when I was on Oprah for Wedding Channel, all these women reached out and said, how can I start a business? And I just thought to myself, well, whatever you do, don't do this. Looks like the American dream. It's actually a nightmare. So I just wanted a better answer to de-risk it, to democratize entrepreneurship. And when I looked out at what was out there in direct sales, and I came to a conference here, it frightened the heck out of me. The ick factor was off the charts for me, because it felt like a lot of really ho-hum product, no use of technology to serve the customer or serve the business owner. And it was honestly an industry that was for largely women, but led largely by men. Mm-hmm. And when I heard them talking about who was supposed to be the person they served, it didn't ooze respect. It was the opposite. And so it almost made me want to run out of the building. And then I said, hold on, wait a minute. That's not the reason why you can't do it. That's the reason why you have to. Because women deserve something better. Somebody needs to try harder. So even though I had no idea what I was doing, that began the adventure that has now turned into over $500 million in incremental earnings paid to women making choices in 6 countries and 3 brands around the world.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about the story of Stella & Dot and the family brands that we were just talking about in the green room there.
Well, first of all, I just met a customer over there who's wearing you're rocking the satin necklace and looking so good. And she's like, well, thanks for designing it. And I was like, well, I cannot take credit for that, because I can assure you I started designing it and it was ugly. I thought it was cute, but it was not. did start this business, and it wasn't about accessories. It was really about saying, how do you reinvent a flexible on-the-go business, and how do you make it for today's woman, not the woman of the past? And it's really different. It's got to be based on product innovation. So when I went to find that white space, the panel on the white space in the market, there was a huge opportunity for mid-accessible luxury jewelry. One that, not on the high end, not on the low end, but had social responsibility in our supply chain, had authenticity in our design. And that was about this core value that was going to be product first and customer value first. And then you would fix all the other things with technology. But that was, I started Stella Dot, started making the jewelry, found a partner in Blythe Harris. The business is named after our grandmothers. Mine is Stella, hers is Dot. It's a company inspired by and created for strong women. And so we got great at product and it grew. But ultimately, I realized that if you're going to give people a way to sell and have that be powered by passion and word of mouth, they're going to need to share a product in which they don't. When I was sharing that mascara with you, it was not because I was hoping to you.
I literally put her mascara on.
Yeah. I know that I would do that. You got to try this. You're going to love it. I want you to have this. It's like when you've had a great restaurant, you're like, you got to go. Who has just sold?
But isn't that a female thing to do, right? Oh, let me try that lip gloss, right?
You got to try it, right? It had to be that the product was just what was the most amazing thing, and ultimately we grew as an accessories company, but not everybody is going to be into fashion. And when I really went down into the soul searching for why I realized this is my calling, my sister, who's a police officer, she would never been a Stella Dot stylist. It's just not her thing. She's not into fashion at all. And I think about my mother, who really, I was raised by a single dad, and I looked at the effects of a woman who was there because she didn't feel like she had other choices on a family. It's not good. And so when I think about what she would have done, she would have needed a different price point to sell to her social circle and demographic. So that's when I realized that our ultimate destiny was to be a social selling platform with a family of brands, so that different women in different places could find different passions and then really authentically share that based off of something they love. So that became our journey out of fashion accessories and into broader brands.
And I love that, because it is about finding the white space. And, you're right. Not everybody's going to, be in love with the jewelry side of things and branching out. And talk to us a little bit about the makeup, because I was just trying it. It's lovely.
Well, we did Stella Dot, and then we did Keep Collective, which is a charm-based jewelry line, and it's a broader price point. And then we moved into skincare, and I'll tell you about that, because you asked me, how do you go from doing jewelry to skincare?
Right.
And then I would say, well, how do you go from not doing jewelry to jewelry in the first place? And I can tell you, businesses are about people. And as an entrepreneur, I've always known that it's just my job to believe in a mission and then go find somebody who's far better than I and an expert in that area that is like-minded in its mission. So I feel very fortunate that what we do, because it is so mission-driven, that there's a lot of women that really believe passionately in trying to be a part of that. So we brought on Annie Hajidian, who was the president of Bobbi Brown North America, and she really runs the skincare and makeup business. So that business is being run by really people who I look at in awe for their leadership and their product prowess. And it's really nothing I could create on my own. But I'll tell you what, I could never advocate for it if it weren't phenomenally the best, because I just don't believe in that. I don't believe you should make stuff to make stuff. The world is filled with stuff. It's got to be because you want to go tell a customer, this is unlike anything you've seen before. This is going to unseat everything. And in fact, with that mascara I was just showing you, I was very proud. The team just won the US Weekly Top Beauty Award. It's won a bunch of Allure Best of Beauty Awards. I literally say to them, listen, if you can go into a blind study and beat the best-selling mascaras on the market, and you do it with clean ingredients, then we know we've got it. And it took 3 years. But that's our bar, because if you're going to go tell a woman you should go advocate this to your friends, you really got to make sure you're doing your job on product. And so we really lead with that. So the makeup brand and the skincare brand, the skincare brand really works. I'm 75. I'm glad you got that.
That is so true.
No, it really does.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Okay. I love how I feel like I'm just like, a bystander in the crowd listening to this. So I know that you were named one of Forbes' most successful made women to watch. Tell me some of the lessons that you've learned in starting the businesses. What would you have done differently?
That it feels very flattering to hear and be reminded of. But what I want this crew to know is that, what I've learned along the way is, hindsight is 20/20. So to lament your mistakes is really very futile. Mm-hmm. It's like regret. It's like sort of the most futile of emotions. I always have tried to do the best that I could at the time with the capacity that I had, and then learn and grow and do it differently next time. But the mistakes I made along the way, I don't know. It's odd. My brain doesn't even think that way. So it's hard for me to process it. I know that what I need to do next is always different than what I did yesterday. And I think that's true for entrepreneurship and any business leadership, is the constant quest of innovation. You're never done. Mm-hmm. You always have to look and say, how do I stay relevant? How do we serve forward? Rather than look back and say, man, that was a mistake. I think I don't register mistakes because I'm never looking back. I'm always looking forward.
Thanks for listening. For more information on this podcast, be sure to visit our podcast channel page at www.wirlc.com/podcast for show notes. Women in Retail Talks is available on Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher, but be sure to subscribe to our podcast channel page as well. Lastly, for all things women in retail, be sure to follow us on social at WIR Leadership on Instagram and Twitter. Until next time, this has been Women in Retail Talks.